Nice done, yeah.
So you would be helpful. I always throw mine away with you. I'll give it back to you. Could you recycle it?
I can recycle it.
Okay. This is
You guys think we're not gonna be doing this much longer.
You were saying that. I know.
So it's gonna be like, we're gonna get it here, and then we have internet here, and then we'll have a computer.
Here.
He's coming tomorrow, and I need you to find something there.
No, he's coming tomorrow before.
But then, but he'll tell you.
That's what I was down at.
Several places. Okay. Okay. I'll get him to sign it tomorrow and then. Yeah, it's Mike. She's not gonna be in it. Yeah, she's stressed.
Okay. Today, it's been miserable the last couple of weeks.
Yes, I made a note of it. Who can witness this?
The sisters don't
Who can witness that you signed it? The next He did, oh, okay, just tell me about it.
Oh, trust me, I just want to see it.
Can you just push that?
You want to tell us? I'm going to call the January 10th Town Council meeting to order. Please stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to wish everybody Happy New Year, and I'd like to have a moment of silence for Judy Gravel. I don't know if you've heard, but she passed away in December 21st, so thank you. Thank you. I do not see anybody signed up for public comment, so we can move on to the minutes of December 13th.
We make a motion, we accept the minutes for December 13th as presented.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Warrants, payroll warrant number 24.
I make a motion, we pay payroll warrant number 24 in the amount of $40,396.14.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Payroll warrant number 25.
Make a motion, we pay payroll warrant number 25 in the amount of $34,566.79.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Payroll warrant number 26.
Make a motion, we pay payroll warrant number 26 in the amount of $31,577.22.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to payroll warrant number 27.
Make a motion, we pay payroll warrant number 27 in the amount of $33,993.77.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? General warrant number 10.
Make a motion, we pay general warrant number 10 in the amount of $114,442.11.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, you were presented with a letter from DEM. I would accept a motion to convene an executive session for discussion purposes only at the conclusion of this meeting.
I make a motion that we convene into executive session relative to this letter we just received.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to old business. We had sent a letter to the town of Gloucester requesting a meeting with them to discuss the possibility of regionalizing at the elementary level. They have sent us a response. Would anybody want to read the response?
I'll read it if you want.
Thank you.
Okay, it is addressed to the Foster Town Council regarding the regionalization of Foster Gloucester Elementary Schools. Dear Foster Gloucester Regional School Committee and Foster Town Council, the Gloucester Town Council has voted 5-0 in favor to send this letter to inform the Regional School Committee that this council is rejecting any effort or intent to further regionalize the Foster and Gloucester Elementary Schools. We are aware of the vigorous effort and intent by Superintendent Michael Barnes and the Foster School Committee members to achieve this end. However, this council does not believe that the benefits to fully regionalize outweigh the negative impact this move would have on our community and our current successful and well-run Gloucester schools. Respectfully, George O'Stair, President, Gloucester Town Council.
That was our response.
I thought that was a little insulting.
Yes.
Just a
I
touch.
Slightly.
thought it was a little insulting.
It could have been handled differently.
Excuse me, may,
One second.
oh, sorry.
There is a, further down on the new business, you'll see that we did get a request from the Foster School Committee to meet further, but, yes.
I just wanted to correct one statement. Michael Barnes is not the driving force of full regionalization, so I shouldn't leave anybody.
It wasn't just Dr. Bonds that was cited.
I know, but what I'm saying is this is a school committee effort and not Dr. Barnes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? We can just put that aside and move on. We have the traffic light at Cucumber Hill. If you recall, back in 2017, we requested that the planner at that time, Juliana King, send a letter to the Department of Transportation for that, I believe it's called STIP, S-T-I-P?
The tips.
The tips, that's it, thank you. Requesting that they revisit Cucumber Hill and Route 6. So you have a copy of the letter that they sent to her initially back in 2017, and then on the reverse side, you have the letter that they sent to us in December of 2018, which, I don't know if anybody wants to read it, or if we just want to tell what it says.
And you just tell.
Okay, so what it says is that at the request, they did go and look at it, and they have determined that, yes, there should be a light at the intersection of 6 and Cucumber Hill. And they're also talking about a road diet, and what that means is at that section of Route 6, it is 4 lanes, they want to go down to 2 lanes. I know that there's been discussion about this regarding it being a light and coming off of Connecticut and what concerns there are coming 395. Since receiving this letter, I have been paying close attention when I do travel that area, and it's going to be a little different. I think that, I'm sure that Rhode Island is going to be getting in touch with Connecticut and putting signage out saying that there is going to be a red light. I'm hoping, because I think that that might be
They
an
have
issue.
to. I think they have
I think that, I did note that one day this week, Connecticut was working, in Connecticut, putting signs up, and they were way up on Route 6. Did you notice that, Tyler?
What
They
was
were way up on Route 6. They had police officers and, their DPW trucks on Route 6, way up past, almost
Connecticut
to...
workers in Rhode Island?
They were working in Connecticut, but they
They had
had
signs?
signs and everything out on Route 6 in Rhode Island.
The reason for that is at the Connecticut state line, right at Cucumber Hill Road, they were changing the entering the Connecticut sign because there's a new governor.
Yes,
So all the signs have to put Lamont's name
Right.
on that.
I was curious as to what was going on, and then I noticed that it was Connecticut, so. But, so that will not be happening into 2020.
But it's definite.
It's definite. Yes.
Just to add on the STIP grants, the State Transportation Infrastructure Program, I had them send that to me at my office the other day just to find out what their schedule was. They have a 10-year plan, and a lot of people are concerned about the bypass. That's scheduled to be done in 2019. Route 6 from the state line to 102, which will finish that, it's going to be done in 2022. I'd also like to add, there's certain towns that have a hard time with their infrastructure, and if a town can prove that it's a safety issue and is a financial burden on the town, that they will take it over. 2 examples of that, on Bob's Hill Road is getting a bridge replaced for Coventry.
I
The
noticed
state
that
is
the other
doing
day.
that. And if you go down into Hope Jackson by 113 and 115 by the fire station and the old police station, which is a town road, the culvert's collapsing, the state is gonna be redoing that, and that's getting moved up. So if you have any issues that are safety concerns, they'll definitely look at them, and also it's a wise thing to get, we've already passed, I found out we passed the point to apply for the TIP grants. You can apply for TIP grants and you'll have funding, much like we did on Old Plainfield Pike. I don't know if you remember when Old Plainfield Pike was redone. That was done through a TIP grant. We had to produce the money for the engineering, but the TIP grant paid for all the paving and everything on Old Plainfield Pike. It comes up on a yearly thing to apply for that, and I'll get more information for you on that.
Thank
But
you.
that's tied into the light, that was through the STIP grants.
Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, we put in the request for that.
Towns do requests, and you go on a list, kind of like, you know how we do the the grants for that? You put your name in and they'll pick through them, but they'll take the safety ones upmost, and if you can prove that you can't afford it, they'll step forward and actually move them up if it's a safety issue.
Would Hemlock Bridge be something?
Hemlock Bridge is actually, believe it or not, is scheduled on there. I gotta ask into it a little bit more about that, but they do have it scheduled in there, and I can look it up again, I go back on it, but sometimes things get dropped off for other priorities, as things come in that are more important, things drop off and those take a precedent.
Could you please, and
Yeah.
then let me know? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll look at it right now, I gotta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have to vote.
We don't have to, I just wanted it to be information for you and for it to be out there. New business, we have the planning board's recommendation for the solar. If you recall, we sent back to the planning board to review the solar ordinance that we had, considering that we've had several solar farms come in. There were many concerns, so we asked them to go back and review. We have it here. It's for our review. It's not a public hearing. We are going to be posting for a public hearing to be, I believe, February 14th, for February 14th, but I thought if we looked at it now to see whether or not we had any concerns, and Jennifer is here in case we have any questions. So,
Just to interject, it is on there for 2025.
2020.
Which is short.
Okay.
I had,
Thank you.
I had one question, I'm not sure if it was, about the bond, the performance bond.
Yes. Yes, that's
And
right.
the
on front.
person, whoever's doing the installation gets to pick who they're gonna use for that bond. Could we have something where the town and whoever's doing the installation have to agree?
Agree,
For the third
agree,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can
I,
have a friend.
Right, exactly.
yes,
I
I think I-
Third party one.
Right, I forget the number, was I?
Applicable to both
the
town.
third-party
The third
cost
party.
estimate shall be submitted with agreement to both, with
Yeah.
Applicant can sign
Yes, it's on, it's
Oh,
number
it's under,
4.
right, number 4. on
Number
the
4.
Landscaping plan.
yes, with agreement from both the town and applicant.
It's at 4, I put it 3 too.
And 3 also.
Yeah. You know, because they'll pick that apart, and it's not in, it's probably best to do it like that, because they'll just figure that's a loophole, and torture you over it.
So you're saying in 3.2 we're setbacks and height?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, where would we put it in there? That's in 4. in there.
Right.
Maybe it was 2.
We'll look at that, put it in the right place.
Just so we can't have a buddy
Right.
give him some real low ball figure.
Right.
That was my only comments.
I will note that they voted to recommend the following, just so everyone knows. Require that all major solar installations obtain major land development approval rather than smaller projects, not minor solar installations, only needing minor land development approval. A second one was add year-round opaque terrain masking to the required vegetated buffer. A third, add a required landscaping performance bond for at least 5 years with third-party cost estimates, and that's what Heidi was referring to. And then the last one is required third-party cost estimates for a decommissioning bond. They do give suggest that the council consider and deliberate the possibility of prohibiting solar installations in commercial zones or allow them only as an accessory use. The town of Foster does not have a large amount of commercially zoned property, and there was concern that commercial property would be taken up by solar installations. So that being said, would we...
So we just need to move this to a public hearing.
Right, but I wanted us to look at it first since we requested that they review it and bring it back to us.
And I got just a line change in one of the descriptions about the electrical connections. It says shall be underground. Well, I think we should allow an exception there in an area where it doesn't allow you to put it underground.
They couldn't get a variance for
Well,
They did
it
that
On
says,
Chippy
it
Schoolhouse.
says it may be above
Because of the
ground,
wetlands.
it's required by the
that,
utility.
across the wetland.
Right,
So what?
I thought they were talking about the installation itself. This is,
Oh, that's,
okay, all right.
Does that cover it?
I must have misread that.
So, to move forward, Jennifer, do you need us to discuss tonight the possibility of prohibiting solar installations in commercial zones? Or is that something we can discuss at a later date and then amend the
Yeah,
ordinance?
I
Yes,
think you
so,
discuss that in your public hearing, in case
Mhm.
people in the audience have a concern on that.
Okay.
Because you're not open tonight to do that.
Right,
I would.
but it was to the council for us to
Yeah.
consider that, so I didn't know whether we needed to consider it and give a recommendation back.
Well, I think that after the first public hearing, if any changes need to be made, you can make them for the, for the next hearing when you're going to adopt it.
Okay.
So I think that's, you don't want to get too carried away, I think it's thrown out of that
Mhm.
stuff.
I just didn't want to hold it up any
Yeah,
further.
yeah.
Denise,
Yes, Joe.
just one thing on that, I know in the past, when we've had public hearings, if we advertise the ordinance changes, and then you do a change like that at a public hearing, sometimes you can't go forward with it because it wasn't advertised that way. So if you're considering it, if you had that in the ad, so you,
Can always take it
you
out.
know, amend the, you know, and then when you have it, if you decide not to do it at public hearing, to remove it's okay. But if you don't have it in the ad, it's difficult to add things.
That's a good point, so with
Do we need a
amendments.
motion
Yeah.
to stipulate that the town and
I didn't know, you can just put that in,
Oh,
that there could possibly be amendments to the.
the, all right, so we don't need to make a motion
No,
now.
I don't think so.
That was my concern, is that if we didn't,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so,
fine.
do we need to make a motion to move forward with the public hearing, or
Yeah, I would. It's for the, what day do you have, Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day? It's gonna be a nice meeting, ladies and gentlemen.
Bring the flowers.
Bring your candy and flowers.
It's my kid's birthday.
So I'll accept a motion to move forward with this public hearing to include the changes that are listed here, along with the possibility of prohibiting solar installation in commercial zones, or allow them only as an accessory use.
Or
So
any-
moved.
Oh, well, hold on, or any other amendments that may be proposed and accepted that night
Okay.
with what Phil was saying, so that goes.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So you're all set, Jennifer? Thank you for coming out.
So this is
February 14th. Thank you. We have tonight with us Mr. Bob Fontaine and Mr.
John
Box.
Thank you. They're from the Friendship Lodge in Chepachet, and they are making a donation tonight to the heating assistance for Foster. Tonight's bill is tonight's check is a smaller check, but they've already donated a significant amount of money, so this will total $2,500 that they've donated. I certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
This
Thank you,
is
Bob.
something that we try to do every year. And we're fortunate that we've had success in finding funds in order to distribute through Gloucester and Foster. And it's just nice to spread this out. There isn't a lot known about the Masons, but I must tell you that they make good men better. With that, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you. So, moving on, I received a text from Kathleen Swanson requesting that we meet with the Foster School Committee for future planning purposes. At the time that the text was sent to me, we had not yet received the letter from Gloucester, so she did ask that we meet to discuss regionalization as well as financial planning. She had suggested a Tuesday or a Thursday. I don't know what the pleasure of the
We
council
should
is.
do a Thursday, like an hour before our normal meeting?
That would work for me.
Or did she want as part of it? As
No,
part of the
no,
meeting?
not as part of the meeting. I guess more as a workshop type thing. So, does that,
That would work for me.
Well, that's gonna be it.
So regular meeting.
Regular meeting would be.
the 24th? 24th, right, today's the 10th. So the 24th of January would be
Our next meeting.
our next meeting. The Foster Gloucester Regional Budget Subcommittee is that night, too, at 5. But Mr. Stone and I went to that the other night. So they might be involved with that. I know
One of them goes.
one of them goes and one of them tries to get there.
Renting this time,
Um,
swap off.
would we want to do it on a Thursday night that we,
24th?
yeah,
Or
That's a Thursday?
that's a Thursday. Or would we want to do it on a Thursday that we are not meeting?
The next school committee meeting
I don't know when that is.
is the last Tuesday of the month.
The last Tuesday of the month, which would be the 29th.
Yes.
I might not be here, but certainly everyone else could.
I'm going away that week.
I would,
might not be a good.
might not be a good,
Is February 20, is the end of February too far out?
I think so. I think so. I think she's wanting it sooner rather than,
I don't think it's gonna matter.
the
Say
30,
not something
oh,
we
that's
have to do
good.
right away, if we are able to do it at all.
What about the 7th of February?
That's fine.
Is that a Thursday?
That's a Thursday?
And that's our, oh no, that's not.
That's
our
not,
meeting,
that's off.
Okay.
Okay. 7 o'clock here?
Good.
As
I'm
long as
good
it,
with
if it works for them,
Yep.
so February 7th is 7.
At the Benetti Building.
Have to post that.
Yes. Yeah, we have to post that. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna,
they-
I'll let you know, Sue, prior,
Yeah,
if
post
it
it.
works for them, then it can be posted. So, you don't post for them, they have to post separately, and we have to post separately. I'm
But
assuming
it does have to be
it
posted
have to be posted.
for both schools.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that? So should we just move forward? Great. Okay, we have a letter from the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, and Sergeant Domingo is here for that. Would anybody like to read that letter aloud?
Dear President DeFranco, I am addressing you and the other council members, our unions interested in making a sidebar agreement to change our contract to prevent any officer with less than 20 years of service from working as a reserve officer for the Foster Police Department. We would like to make this change as soon as possible. Please see our proposal below. Where we go?
I would.
Original Article 14, Section O, retirees serving as reserve officers. When a police officer retires from the Foster Police Department and chooses to remain as a reserve officer, the officer will be placed on a reserve list with seniority from his or her date of appointment as an active member. Prior reserve time will also be added to seniority. All reserve officers shall be subject to all department rules, regulations, and orders governing reserve officers. Proposed amended Article 14, Section O. Retirees serving as reserve officers. When a police officer retires from the Foster Police Department and chooses to remain as a reserve officer, the officer must have completed no less than 20 years of actual permanent status as a member of any police union. Military buyback or any other form of buyback or non-union police department service or any other non-union positions held shall not suffice. The qualified officer will be placed on a reserve list with seniority from his or her date of appointment as an active member. Prior reserve time will also be added to seniority. All reserve officers shall be subject to all department rules, regulations, and orders governing reserve officers. Sincerely, Sergeant Tyler Domingos.
So, I would accept a motion to have 2 members of our council. Would that be suffice for you? 2 members of our council and 2 members from the union meet to discuss this?
Sure, fantastic.
With that,
I'm good.
I'm good, that sounds good.
is there any members of the council that would, you're the liaison, would you like to?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
And
you
the chief.
can need a chief on.
Right, the chief would be involved,
Yeah.
but that's not a member of the council, so,
And he's already aware of it, we've already discussed it, so
okay.
maybe it should be involved in it.
Is there anyone else besides Cheryl? She's the liaison. Is there anyone else that would be interested in being on that?
I'll do
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that Cheryl and I be on the committee to review this article change.
Second.
There's no cost to this. That doesn't
I just
apply
want
to
to
you,
find
right?
out why.
Yeah, I was wondering, actually, if it was something that you even needed to have a committee meet with them, do you, for a change like this?
There's no cost
You're gonna have to-
No, I didn't think
It's
so.
a
That's where,
contractual change.
Okay.
Each screen's got jammed up in there, and someone else,
amendment.
he's doing sidebars and
Warwick.
Warwick, right? So you gotta, you can't do that, you gotta have it officially, and you guys need to vote on it.
The union has to
Because-
actually be
Yeah, you
represented
can't
fully.
get rid of those.
I just didn't know if it
Right.
was
Warwick,
necessary to
or
sign.
big time.
Big time, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, you should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd rather,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
we don't need anything. Okay, so the motion has been made, it's been seconded, any further discussion?
Did you second it? Who seconded it?
I-
Cheryl.
Cheryl,
Oh, no,
Chris
I
made the
did.
motion and oh,
I did.
Cheryl did too, so, okay. I had Cheryl down,
Yeah, second.
okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Just let me know when we need to have it.
We'll get together, we'll pick a date, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sergeant Domingo.
Thank you.
Moving on to consent agenda, you have two documents here regarding that. Mrs. Dillon had approached me in regards to having a consent agenda. And explains what it is, and I guess they do it in several other towns, including West Greenwich, to save time and to make the meeting more efficient. Does anybody have any questions about the consent agenda, or?
I have something I'd like to find out if this could be part of it, or if it can be discussed now, because it does mention reports and committees and things. I wondered, in going along with this idea, if, and I've spoken to the chief of police, spoken to Kelly about it, and well, she's gone, but the Department of DPW, if we could have them come to our meetings, instead of having a written report every meeting, if we could have them come and give a brief 2 to 5 minutes, not even probably, report at the meeting, if that could be done, rather than these that some people don't need to bother with. I think we all do, but, and I think it would be beneficial to the town to hear directly from these people that do our work and do, work for the town. And I'd like to entertain that idea.
You certainly can do that, you
Is
know.
that something that can be discussed under the?
Well, yeah, because you're saying you want, it's under consent because you're saying, well, okay, maybe if we don't do this totally, can we do something that's along those lines? You certainly can because, a lot of towns require their department heads to be at every meeting. Just because if there are questions even from the audience. The only thing, if you do that, then you're gonna engage where you could end up. Well, not only that, well, I mean, no, if they're salaried, I mean, they're just required, I think, to come, that's part of their job. This should be part of their job description to show up at meetings. But on top of that, what you also might be doing, you could be extending the meeting because then you could get a lot of questions with, like, your department heads, where it could be more than just a 5-minute or a 4-minute type
I think
deal.
my thinking is that it could be very beneficial. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in Facebook and other places, talk, and it gets taken out of context, misconstrued, outright lied about. And I think this would be a good, I spoke to the chief, I've spoken to Kelly, I did not get to speak to Bob Law. And the chief thinks it's a great idea from his perspective. I think it's a positive PR.
Do you think, Cheryl, that would be every 2 weeks, or then would you want it
I
as
think
like a
they could
monthly
do it
thing?
once, I don't think they, if they want to do it every month, fine, but I think at least once a month, they should come and they should give a little report out. It can be heard on the media, because you
Yep.
tape it and you put it out, so that people can hear it from their own lips. They can see how things get distorted sometimes. I just think it's we're trying to build these guys up. They're good, and we want people to know they're good. And we want them to know what they're doing in the town. And they're doing a lot of good. And a lot of people don't see that. And this, to me, would be a way for them to see it.
I know, but it's opposite of what this
Right.
agenda.
Before we have further discussion,
I'm
can we have a
not
motion?
disagreeing with you, Cheryl. I'm just saying it's opposite of.
Well, this is to, yes, but this is where I knew I could speak about it, because that's what we're
Right.
talking about.
Right.
So can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion
For the warrants is one thing, right?
to adopt a consent agenda for discussion purposes.
Second.
Now, discussion.
Excuse me.
1 second.
Okay.
Any further discussion from the council?
All I'm saying is,
It's
it's
two
opposite of the purpose of this agenda.
Well,
And I like both of them.
I'm all for putting the warrants in there and grouping them up. I'm all for changing how we do the reports. We do a monthly report, which we do. We have them come in instead of giving it here. They can still give a quarterly written report, but they could do the monthly report in person. And I think it would be beneficial. I know it's my own opinion, but I've heard from a couple other people that they thought it was a good idea.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea.
I think
I'm just
it's a
saying.
good idea.
If time is the issue, couldn't the reports be posted online, because they're a public record?
I really think it would be nice for them
No,
to
I know what you're
come.
saying, I'm just.
I mean,
being
because
devil's
it's
advocate
be monthly,
as far as
What if
time
we
goes.
did it quarterly?
Mm.
What if we did it quarterly, or did one department 1 month, or another department another month? With that, because I'm thinking it's defeating this.
I don't think they have to be long reports, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking they would just give a
But they
brief.
may be.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Not if they did it the way it's intended. You have, I said to the police chief tonight when I talked to him, you come in and you just give a brief overview of what you've done from the last time you came in, or last time you wrote a report. A brief overview. That's,
I think, I agree, I think it'll be short on the part of the department heads, but it might not be so short with the people
well, I
in the audience.
think then we need to control it.
When I was in Texas, that's exactly how we did it. The department heads gave oral reports, but only the council could ask questions.
That's what I was
Ah,
gonna say, this shouldn't be
okay.
about
I didn't
what was
know that.
posted
That's
on
good.
Facebook
Yes.
and
That's good.
Yeah,
It should be.
okay.
And it was always
That's a
quick
good-
and streamlined.
That's a good point then, okay.
Would that be?
Did you have
With you, Mike? Would you agree to that?
No, I think that's great, but I think if they were, I mean, anybody can
That's
go
what I was
and
gonna say.
request a copy, but if they're posted online, the reports, then anybody can access them
To
anytime.
just, is this from our conversation the
Yes.
other, okay. I just, that sometimes I think it's more beneficial because then everybody can ask, like, you might have a question about something, or it really comes to, what's happening in our office right now, so as things occur, it's current, it's on our mind, and we can tell you about it, and that's what's great. But I don't necessarily think it's beneficial for every department head, like, for example, I can see what you're saying, like, would Carol,
No, I
the
didn't mean
Department
that.
of Human Services,
No.
or
EMA.
some, like
No.
EMA, like, I think maybe,
No,
like,
I didn't mean all of
I
that.
think, I find that it happens more often, I know sometimes
See,
Walmart
I
does
think
it.
Carol Morone, Department of Human Services.
She may want to.
May want to, because there's times when she needs,
Right, and in that case, I think like in those cases that, you know, does she wanna come here every other week or every week? But there are people who are here every other week. She's here every other week, I'm here every other week. The chief is here every other week, and those are the main department heads. If you added DPW into that, those are the four,
Right.
3 or 4, do you guys do that in West Greenwich?
We have all of the, they're all there, but all of the reports are in any council member can pull anything out of consent agenda
And then discuss
and
it.
discuss it. So
that explains
I
it
asked them,
here.
I said, do you have anything you want to pull off, is there any corrections or mistakes or omissions?
But-
And they'll pull stuff out, they'll pull letters out that are from a resident, and we'll discuss it
Right,
in regular session.
so.
But that's, and I read that too, and I understand
Yeah.
that, but I think this is coming directly from them, and I did
Yeah,
not
that's fine.
mean all of
Yeah.
I think if a department head wanted to and requested that they could come and speak, then we should let them. But I think we should get the DPW, the police chief, finance, and we have, yes. I think those are the 4 major ones, I mean, not that the others aren't important, I'm not saying that at all. If they wanna come in and they feel the need to speak, then we let them.
Patty's here sometimes too.
Patricia.
But I just think that way you guys can ask questions as they arise, and it's
I-
very current that way. If something happened today, I'm able to tell
I
you.
just think that it's
You know?
counter to the consent, but I agree. I like,
I know
I like
knew
that.
that was coming.
but no, but I like the idea because I do think we need to build up some of our departments so that some
So
of
is
the.
is this something, can you not have discussion from the audience? If it's-
That's
if
what
it's
Joe
on the
just said,
agenda?
yes.
But I was in
Right.
Texas, where.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
In Rhode
we
Island.
can make it that way,
Yeah,
can't we?
yeah, you can just say, that's just you're just giving a full presentation to the town council.
And we can ask questions, but no one from the audience can. I
That'll
like
go,
that.
that'll go over good. Seen that before.
Well, you just gotta learn to shut your mouth while you're over there.
Originally.
Mrs. Wright. I understand the intent, but I would hope that it's not, in lieu of a written report, because people do make requests to see, a written report, and.
I didn't think it was in lieu of.
Not really,
No, I didn't.
No, because, I mean, you also need a paper trail, you need to see what that, whatever is. I wonder about doing it that way, and if you guys are gonna be asking questions, is that an open meeting posting
Well-
nightmare?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I gotta look at that.
And my other thing is, I timed it tonight, between the minutes and the payroll warrants, it was 2 minutes. Even if you.
That long.
That long, even if you, and that's without, monthly reports, so add another 2 minutes. I'm not sure how much time that would save, and my other question was, that if you did this, would that mean that the warrants are not printed out for the public to see?
No,
No.
nothing else would change.
No, nothing else would
It's an
change.
addition.
But it's done in other towns, it can be done.
Right, yeah.
We have a sample from Richmond, and it says consent agenda, and it lists all of them. It says approval of minutes, approval of town clerk's report, tax collector's reports, taxpayer refund, building and zoning report, this report, that report.
Right, but
So
you're
it
saying
lists everything.
4 minutes.
Isn't it when you would just say, I think you would only make one motion to accept
Right.
all of the things under the consent agenda.
It isn't so much about saving
That's what
time,
we
it's
do
just
now.
about being an
That's what we do
expedient.
now.
But my point is, I'm not concerned about so much as saving the time for these reports. I think it's important for people to hear what the departments are doing.
I agree.
Well, I understand, I just have one other question, is besides the minutes, the warrants, monthly reports, what other kinds of things can be put into that?
Well, some towns, and it depends on what your town clerk or what your tradition is, but like in our town, we'll get a bunch of letters from residents, and they'll be put in. Sometimes they're coming from other towns, like they want you to get on the bandwagon on something, and all that stuff is in there. Letters from the state on certain, nonsensical issues, all that stuff is in there, and if someone on the council wants to pull it off, they can, but many times that's just on the computer, right, online, but we don't pull it off. But once in a while, someone will pull off and say, listen, there's a pothole on a certain road that's been there for 3 months, I'd like it, so someone will pull that and say, okay, and the DPW guy will be there and say, how come that pothole is still there? And then we'll ask him, right, in open session. So it's things like that, and what it does is, rather than have that letter in your normal packet and debate it, it's done in the consent agenda, so if no one brings it up, then you don't talk about it.
But then the public never knows that anything was ever there.
Well, they will, because it's on, you go on your
Well, it would be
website.
under,
It's on the
communication or
website.
whatever, you wouldn't,
Like, for instance,
No.
we have one guy in our town that repeatedly just sends letters every single month, he never shows up, right? So we're just ignoring him because it's just ridiculous, so, but if he really had an issue, I know, but I'm not saying it's me, if he really had an issue, then he should be coming to the meetings and bringing it up in front of us. Not just having, it's like the keyboard cowboys, right? Just sending in a letter, but never addressing the council directly. So we don't bring that, no one takes that off the consent agenda because we know that it's just not, it's not worth it. So all that type of stuff goes in there, but if a council member wants to take it off, they can. And all we gotta say is, and all the at least in our town, they're all numbered. So you can say, number 10, I want taken off. And that can be a letter from, Johnny Jones, and we're gonna talk about that.
I just see,
This is an
in the
example.
case of like saving 5 minutes, I see a lot of room for
Well,
abuse.
every town's different, so it's whatever this town wants to do.
I don't think we were thinking about linking all those other things together, were we?
No, I thought it was
Just for the warrants.
warrants and maybe
Mrs.
reports.
Dillon was the one who requested it.
Right.
So
It's just
what were you
organizing.
looking for?
I was looking just to organize it, instead
Right.
of going through every single warrant and every single, in
Business,
the
old
meeting
business.
minutes, it's all together on one motion, done. It's just easier.
I'm sorry, could you repeat
But-
again, Mr. Stone was, had my other ear.
It's just for organization too, when you look at it, it's just a one, with everything on the agenda that we have, and it's not a lot, and it's the warrants and going through, and it's just reading the warrants and the thing, and everybody voting. It's just one vote for all of that, you've already reviewed it.
But-
You already have looked at everything, and you know, and if you do have a question on something, you pull it out. I'd like to remove. I
So
didn't
you're
want it in
talking the
warrant.
minutes and the meeting, the minutes
The meeting, the,
and the
quarterly
warrants.
reports, yep.
With abatements, something like the
These
additional
are-
abatements come in there.
So these are all under the consent agenda.
Yes.
New business, old business, the whole
No,
nine
no,
yards.
no, just
No.
right here, just G, right here.
Then why are these numbered?
They're all numbered because that's how they set up their,
That's an
we
example.
do it
of
in
a
letters.
I know, in Richmond.
Right, but we do letter station numbers.
This is the sample she gave us to look at.
Doesn't mean we're doing it that way, it was just for you to look at, how it can be done.
That's how they set up their agenda.
So it's all under the consent agenda.
No, only G is
Only
under
the,
consent.
only the items, city wishes.
Mr.
Don't be laughing at me now.
Mr. Sabazia,
You really need one motion to
Hold on, one
approve
thing.
fees. Everything else is separate, but there would
Everything
be
else is
one
separate, it's only
motion
G.
just to approve those things, whatever's listed.
they're all, it's just the way they set up their agenda.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Sabazia.
A piece of history. 19...
History lesson?
Yeah, they're good. You learn something. 1990, March Borders used to read every report. And by a suggestion from me that Nick Barham followed through, you got into reports. So I'm going to suggest, I'll try not, feel-good stuff is what it is, feel-good stuff.
That's right.
All right, hold on. So I would suggest that you bring the members in, you have the reports, and ask them to stand up if they'd like to highlight executive-wise something that's in their report, rather than bring them in and force them to talk about, in the old days, Mike Caparelli, I followed a dog through the snow, all right?
He's not gonna
No,
answer.
I understand, Cheryl, but bringing in people to tell you to do their daily job,
I think Cheryl's point
I
is that
understand
not
Cheryl's
everyone
point.
out
She's
there
a
thinks
very
they do
nice
their
lady.
day.
Yeah.
But I think not everyone out there thinks they do their daily job.
Well, but if you have the report and you ask them to highlight something executive-wise, they may want to stand up and talk about that special thing they do, which is what Cheryl's talking about. Everybody knows they plow the road,
Catching the dog.
you know? So ask them to highlight extra stuff that makes them look good versus make them stand there and talk about what they do day to day, which nobody's going to be interested in, truthfully. But have a good time.
Thank you. I saw somebody, Patty, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, this is, what this is about is to, technically, we all have to answer to the council. So, the council doesn't know what goes on day to day in our office. How many people call, swear at us, threaten us?
I've been there for one of those.
Yes, I know you have. And they don't know any of that. We don't put that in our reports. We just have to let it go, even though we don't want to, but we have to. So this is really to what Sue's trying to do is put it all together. You have whoever in the department heads, if you have a question for them, it comes out in open session. And like Kelly said, instead of on Facebook, there's a lot of stuff on Facebook that is untrue and very degrading to the workers in town hall. And it infuriates us, really. It's because we can't say anything. We can't respond on Facebook to them for some of the things that are said. And it's very degrading to the, and it brings the morale down in town hall. It really does. Especially when people come in and look at us and say, you don't do anything all day.
You're
No, we
gonna
don't.
stand here and tell them you do.
So that's not it, Ron.
I got it.
So, I mean, if I think it's a great idea, so that if you have a question, or we want to say something that happens, that it's out in the public, and it's the truth, not something that's been distorted.
So Cheryl, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That we do the consent agenda like this, where we can just have one motion for the monthly reports, quarterly reports, the warrants, the minutes, and have your people come in. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with one vote on all of these things, but if you want the department heads here to speak, I don't see why we can't do both. I think it's just making one motion instead of 10. I think is the purpose of it.
That's the whole purpose of it.
I'm for, right, and I
Right.
understand that, but I want to give them the opportunity to speak.
Was that gonna be once a month, you think, rather than every meeting?
And who
We only do the monthly reports.
Monthly reports is once a month.
Monthly report is once a month, so it's saying that they give a monthly report, or maybe an opposite week that they give a, I think they only need to come once.
I do too. I do too.
And who are you referring to, everybody?
No, she said,
I was talking-
DPW, police, finance, and others as they would like.
And you'll have to continue it till the next meeting, because I'm gonna have to do research on whether or not
Open meetings.
you can have, like, if you're doing that, if there's a question from the audience, whether or not that's gonna be a violation.
So
I don't know
can
that.
we vote on the consent agenda and then do the, Cheryl's, can we
Yeah.
tonight vote on the consent
Yeah.
agenda? And then at the next meeting, have Cheryl's request
Right.
for department heads to attend?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I speak for all the department heads to say that I don't want it to become like some big huge debate between the public and where
Well,
people
that's
from the
not-
audience
that's
are
why-
going back and forth?
That's not my intent. Believe me, Kelly, we do not want that either.
Thank you.
That is not, that, I don't think
Just
that
figured I'd
was,
say it out
I don't think
loud.
that was Cheryl's purpose. I think Cheryl's purpose is to bring us up, not to
I get that.
stomp us down.
That's where it might work against you.
That's where.
Right. So if we,
You don't have to.
Well, if we control it, we don't have to take the questions.
see
But I
this,
don't
It's
know, I
an
gotta figure that
informational
out.
thing.
see this?
I gotta figure out whether that's even allowable in open meetings. Regulations.
Well, how do we do it in other places?
We don't have our department heads are not required to get up and speak unless we call on them.
Right.
And if you call on them, can people in the audience speak?
Yeah, they'll ask them stuff, but it's normally within the general, like stuff going on, like on a particular issue. Stuff like that. Like, for instance, last night we had an issue of our solar ordinance has 4 feet up a roof of a house for a ladder, for a fire company to get up if there's a fire. So of course, they're arguing, should it be 4 inches or 4 feet? So, we asked the building official, he was there, so that's what it was, but it wasn't, he just didn't get up and give like a dissertation like he did the last month, because we see his report, and he goes, it's the same thing the last month, I've been numerous, inspections, and there's been 3 new houses built, and, 5 additions, and that's all it is, so we don't really ask him, except if it's a particular question, and we needed to know how far that he wanted the solar panels on someone's roof, because the companies were coming in and complaining because it was costing them money. So we asked him his opinion, but that's all that was. We don't just have him get up and tell us what's going on because we've read the reports. Oh, we're supposed to read them.
Okay, so you're gonna check that out?
Yes, I don't know. because that-
Future agenda item. So we had a motion to accept the consent agenda. It was seconded. Any further discussion on the consent agenda, not Cheryl's portion of it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll sit and talk about it, how that, you can show me how it sets up? Oh, sure. Thank you. Moving on, we have the EMA liaison. We still are looking for an EMA assistant, assistant EMA.
Mike will have to send a letter, and I think he has somebody in mind. We, well, I'll just explain why I wanted to be a liaison for EMA, and it's just because of the timing of a new director coming into the winter, and we've been lucky so far, but if we get into a situation that we had last year with all of those storms, he doesn't know exactly how to deal with all, like, National Grid and some other things. So I just wanted to be in a position where I could help him, if I could be the liaison if he needed help with National
I
Grid,
think
just
that's great.
until
I
his,
think that is good.
yeah, until his transition, you know.
I just wanted it clear that the EMA director does answer to the chief. So
Right.
that's-
Oh, yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it has been, well, actually answers to the president of the council or their liaison. Their liaison, my liaison is the chief, because I think he probably knows.
I make a motion, we make Heidi the EMA liaison.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Heidi, I think that will go very nicely. Engineering board liaison. We had talked about other liaisons for other departments, and the engineering board, again, Heidi, you had requested that be on the agenda.
The engineering board?
That's what you had asked last time we were meeting.
I think it was just EMA that I asked
Okay.
for.
All right, I thought
You
I
asked to put it on the agenda.
You asked to have
The,
Not
the
that you wanted to
engineering?
do it.
engineering board liaison, you thought that,
Oh, I don't remember asking for
She
that.
doesn't.
Sorry.
okay. I had it in my notes. Well then,
So-
just move along. Thank you. Reflective number plaques, there's been some discussion about that from the various fire departments and the ambulance regarding the fact that there are many houses that do not have them numbered, that we're in need of that. Now, Mrs. Dillon included in here from North Smithfield regarding their plaques. That, is it mandatory? And I'm not sure that we can.
It looks like there's an enforcement with
There's an
them.
enforcement. We do
their
not have an
ordinance, if you
ordinance
don't-
saying that. They do.
I don't know if I want to create an ordinance and fine somebody for not having a number. I mean, I agree we need to have them, and maybe, that's something I can talk to Mike Dexter about, is putting an ad in the Foster Home Journal, so
Mhm.
people will be aware of
Sue did
that.
send out an email regarding that.
Yeah.
And we do have them available in town hall.
available, and we've had people, a lot of people have been.
Yeah.
Is this the form to order one? So this is already out, this form? Oh, that's great, okay, great, I think that's great.
Where do you put them?
At the end of your
I mean,
driveway.
let's face it, when
My mailbox
put it on,
go down
I had it
the
I'm
online.
sorry, can we have one conversation?
I had it online, and it's actually stupid if you don't put them out. When you're in an emergency
Yeah, right,
situation,
no, I agree.
on some of the back roads,
Right, I
It is.
agree. Okay, and there was, I know that there was some discussion, like my address, my mailing address is 109. My 911 address is 110, but my neighbor is 110, so she has a 110, because I wanted to get a plaque, she has 110 on hers. If I put 110 on, she's calling for 911, where are they gonna go?
110, A.5, B.
Right, right.
And but-
No, that's true, because it was, at my house was 33 and then 33A.
Right.
well,
33 and a half A and 33 and a half B.
Yeah.
So,
It is
Right
ridiculous,
here.
but that's what the post office did.
You're losing
my
critical
mother-
time.
My mother and father-in-law's,
This is,
the fire station and mine,
Yep.
86, 86A and 86B technically.
So basically, I think what we're saying is that we want people to get their plaques out. We do not have an ordinance. I agree that, I'm not sure I want to go to the extent of putting.
Yeah, I
But
would say,
I would
promote
agree with
it,
that.
advertise it however we can, but I'm not in favor of creating an ordinance and fining somebody if they don't.
Go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it might be helpful if you hook up, some of the elderly people can't put them up and stuff. So if we can get on board with maybe the Boy Scouts or somebody that can go out and put them on their properties for them, that would probably help. I mean, years ago, they used to, when we were a little bit smaller than we were, and before HIPAA rules were rolled in, they would say the name over the radio, and a lot of people being in town 40, 50 years, you wouldn't even have to, you would just automatically know how to go there. Now we're using numbers, but sometimes, well, and I wish maybe they can do that, is many times it's a fire call or something like that that doesn't involve HIPAA. And if they sometimes say, like, I would be glad if somebody said the Rogers residence is an emergency. I don't have a problem with that. If it's not a medical issue, they should be able to say the address,
Right.
you know?
What do you mean, the name?
Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Ryan,
do that.
Is there any reason why
We don't want them.
the emergency services can't reach out to the residents
They do,
themselves?
they all do.
And I mean, go door to door, you know,
We do.
give it to them. You know, say, you know, if you can't put it up, we'll put it up
We
for
do.
you. Because a lot of people, they're not ever gonna go to town hall and pick one up. And it may sit there forever and ever and not get put up. But I think, you know, you have to be a little bit proactive because people are people.
We already do that. We provide them at the fire stations. We have them in the building and we do put them up for people that request.
I didn't know that.
I thought South Boston.
Well, that's gonna get out there, but we do provide them.
Do you,
So maybe
you put these in the welcome packets, these forms, maybe a full page ad in the Foster Home Journal?
Yeah, much that costs.
$365.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. Well,
No, but this is a good form, right?
And
And
it
then
is.
you have all the information on
Right.
file
And then
someplace.
it's good because then you know.
full page is $315.
When you know the
oh, well,
emails.
maybe the town.
If you're in the inside of the back, it's not, I don't think what they.
You might wanna pick a few topics if you spend that much and throw a few
Right.
things in there.
$315 for. Okay,
Just a
so,
suggestion.
just, yeah,
Well, at least carry on.
and maybe the new EMA director can get
There you
some.
go, problem solved.
What's that?
Always thinking.
What'd you
What?
say?
Pay for it from EMA.
That's what I thought Heidi would meant.
Right,
When you said.
We have an
last
EMA
night,
fund, so
so,
there you go. Money's not the issue.
okay.
Okay, so.
Any further discussion on reflected signs? Moving on, Charter Review Committee. It's been a couple of years since we've had a charter review. There are a couple of things that are in there that, as we live with them, might need to be changed, might not. I didn't know what the council would like to do.
Well, if we appoint new committees, we're going to advertise, correct?
Yes.
And then we're gonna do what we did before
Yes.
with the people?
So Cheryl is suggesting that we advertise for it and that we meet with the individuals before we appoint them to charter review.
Well, we can do, lump them together, economic development advisory.
Under the economic development.
Same thing. I would hope we'd advertise and get people that want.
Well, we,
Where would you want us to advertise that, Cheryl? No, it's okay.
Wherever you generally advertise. It just was a home journal. That's.
can you
and-
send
and
out
on
an
Facebook?
I
e-blast?
can send out, definitely send out.
That,
And then I'll put it on.
okay. Any further
Do we
discussion?
need a motion to form
I think we do.
committees?
I think we do. Let's take each one, charter review. So is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to form a charter review committee consisting of 5 members.
yes,
And advertise in the Home Journal soon, is that it?
Yeah.
For members to submit letters of interest.
Second.
so it'll be 5 members. Will any of the members be a council member?
You can't be.
Because everything is gonna come back to the council.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
No, in the past we weren't. So 5 members, and you're going to post it in an e-blast and in Forster Home Journal. Okay, so when do we want them to
Respond by.
respond by, and that we want to have that?
When would it go out?
Well, it won't go out until the first of the month, so.
So February.
Second meeting in
So
February?
the second meeting in February, February 28th?
so we'll have them back by,
If you have them back
by
by
that
the,
Tuesday. Okay, and I'll put it in back.
Excuse me, Mr. Frank?
one second.
Yeah, no
I just, if we get them back, it's just, and then we're gonna invite them to come on the 28th, or do
So
you-
why don't you give yourself a break?
Yeah.
and Say the 22nd,
Sixth, yeah,
or something like that.
The
so that you
21st
can-
is the Thursday, have them
Yeah.
come back by the 21st.
All right.
Okay. If we have them come back on the 21st, we get them in our packet for the 28th, do we want to request that all those people come, or do we want to look through them on the 28th and then request certain people?
I don't know how you.
We do that in executive session.
Well, I think,
We've done it in open.
yeah,
always
I mean, I
before.
just think what you do is maybe on the 26th, you just agree, upon which people you want to interview, and then interview them at the next meeting.
All right, so have them at the 28th, and then on the
Sorry.
March 14th, we would have them attend.
Yeah.
Is that all right with
Are
everyone?
we gonna interview them in open session?
Yes. Okay, you got that, Sue? Any objection, any further discussion? I heard my name. Yes.
Mr. Frank, I'm going to suggest, I'm just going to write it, so I'll say it. The Charter Review Committee last time, I've been on 3 charter, yeah, you got it, 3 of them, and the Charter Review last time brought forward 11, and 10 were passed. Actually, we only brought forward 10, the council changed it, or the planning board, the council changed it. So 10 out of 11 passed, that's the best record ever. The people on that committee represented a wide scope of the town with a lot of history. Lynn Ryder, Bob DiPaolo, myself, and you cannot do this without the clerk. The clerk has to be a member of this or it will not work. She has the most knowledge of the things that don't work, all right? So I'm going to suggest, one, that you consider the people that were on before and you raise the number to 7. All right, but that's up to you. But the clerk has to be a member. And the most valuable member of that committee who came to every meeting and was not paid was Mrs. Bevilacqua, who was the attorney at that time. So there has to be a lot of give and take between the committee and the attorney and back to see what's legal or not. So I'll put my name in. I'm going to suggest Ms. Wright or Mr. DiPaolo if they'll sit. And hopefully you'll go to 7, because I think the more people you have on discussing the important issues that the clerk is going to bring forward will be beneficial to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Ryder?
I just wanted to speak to the Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Can we wait until we're done with the charter?
Oh, I thought you were lumping them
No,
together.
we-
For the advertising.
For the advertising, but for motions, we were separating them. Thank you. Any further on the charter review? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the economic development issue. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we form an economic development advisory committee consisting of 5 members,
Yes.
and that we advertise in the.
The same format, so it would be advertised, due the 21st, read on the 28th, interview on the 14th of March.
I would, we're discussing.
Second.
Now, discussion.
I'm wondering if we should, not include current businesses on Route 6?
Not?
Well, I don't want it to be all made up of just the people that are in business already. You know
Well,
what I
we're gonna
mean?
see who applies.
Right, but supposing
Can we
only,
exclude them because they're,
supposing only the businesses do, and we don't get other.
I know
You
people
know what
that
I'm
are
trying to
interested.
say? Okay,
I know people that are interested that are not on
okay,
Route 6 businesses.
okay. I'm not saying they should be excluded, I'm saying it should
Right.
all be made up of just.
Right. Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Yes,
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Chris.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry, I
last time the EDA there was no business owners on Route 6.
I'm sorry, say it
The
again?
last time the Economic Development Committee met, there were no, I mean, I was part of it, but I wasn't a business owner on Route 6 at the time. There were no business owners involved in the EDAC last time, none.
Mrs.
I just
Ryder.
want to make sure.
I think, the Foster Home Journal, what Ms. Waz was saying, if you want a different result, you've got to go to people who have different ideas.
I understand, but I'm not gonna
obviously-
prejudice myself by
No,
saying.
no, I
things.
understand, but obviously, those people who are already in business in the town, I'm just saying, just throw out a wider net. I don't know if you wanna make posters and put them in the various establishments saying, this is what we're going to do. Have announcements made, I don't know, can you make them at church? Something, but you don't want the same old, because then you're going to get the same old. So you've gotta get people who think.
So who doesn't want to be on it?
Not me, no.
I understand what you're saying, Mrs. Ryder, but you can also understand that we do not want to say, if you're a businessman, do not apply.
No,
You can't do that.
No.
And I didn't want it
That's
for us.
discrimination.
Yes.
I just think you have to try to get,
I
to
know you
reach
raised
out.
your hand, you don't have to stand.
No, it's just,
Thank you, I agree, Mrs. Ryder.
listen,
Thank you. Mr. Savazio.
the planning board, one of my focuses, and the planning board focus, is gonna be over the next 6 months, to revote, to review the zoning ordinances to see what would help bring businesses to town.
Thank you, we requested that a while
All right.
ago.
We brought it to you, just so you can remember. The next thing we're going to do is, and we've already done it, the planner has contacted a person who is a business developer on the outside. She's supposed to be getting 2 more names. I've sat on 2 economic development committees. People come in and say, I want a bank. I want this, I want that. Most of it's retail, most of it is unrealistic. So I think if you get some outside consultants working.
Thank you, I realize, that Jennifer does have someone coming.
Okay, so my request is that you hold off on this for 6 months till the planning board sends you something, because no matter who you put on it, have focuses this small. And you need new scope. So have a good time, as
Thank
usual.
you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes.
I remember Anne Marie was the planner, a mailing that went to every house and asked what people,
One,
I wasn't sure if that was part of that.
I think we were just looking at getting some ideas. So how that committee decides or determines how to move forward. That might be a
But the
suggestion.
mail, I don't know if you remember the mailing coming to every
Yes.
house and it's asking people if they're,
Yeah.
what they.
I remember that, it's a
was under
good
Juliana.
idea, it's just that,
Juliana
it's,
sent that.
like Ron was saying, everybody wants a bank and a grocery store.
Right.
I mean, they'd be at the top of
Right.
my list too, but they're,
it's not what we want, it's that if they want us,
exactly.
okay?
Right.
That's the deal. So put all the people you want on this together, and they're gonna tell you what they want.
I think that,
You weren't recognized.
oh, excuse me.
Why not?
Mr.
Possible,
Carey.
I don't. Yeah, I just think that, if you do form a committee for this, it's not a bad idea. They could probably work in conjunction with the planning, I believe, maybe.
They were a
Once they
subcommittee,
start,
right.
So they, report to us and maybe come to a meeting once they have a few meetings and give us ideas and work with us. It might be a good thing.
The
get
last
some
one,
other
Jeff.
ideas.
What year was that? It was a long time ago, they were.
That was in probably
Of the plan.
2006, 2004 to 2006.
Actually, the gentleman is coming on February 20th to the planning board. Mr. Gibbs is his name. He'll be coming on February 20th. So you might have some ideas then that can be presented to the Economic Development Committee on the
if they're not going to be appointed until the 14th or later. Any further discussion? So we have a motion to develop an economic development advisory committee, and it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Last item is the additions and abatements. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018 real estate abatements in the amount of $1,064.34. The 2018 first appeal abatements in the amount of $977.55. And the 2018 tax board abatements in the amount of $623.52.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Future agenda items, I have that department heads attending meetings. I also have one that I would like to present is that Mr. Kolowski has given us many years as the recreation director, and he has now retired. I was wondering if we would present him with some sort of plaque or something for his years of service. Is there anybody?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any other future agenda items? I know we have a list.
Yeah.
I'm trying to check them off.
Yeah, they're not on here.
No, they're not, I was like,
Took off the list.
Oh, well, yeah, because we would have had 3 pages. I can give you a copy, I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Grab the other.
I'll take a motion to, yep, we have that.
Okay.
So, I'll accept a motion to go into executive session. Yes.
It's not on the, oh, that's right, you put it in earlier.
I move to go into executive closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-42-4 for the reasons stated in the Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5. Have to read them all?
Yep.
No, only,
Because we're not really, it's just.
we're for discussion
The
of
specific
possible
one,
litigation.
the number.
Which I haven't seen, we should have Mr. Rogers come up and see what we got.
Actually, yes, you can look at your agenda, it's not on it.
Where's litigation?
We do litigation, so.
Discussion of bargaining, contractual negotiations, personnel.
All right, for the discussion of litigation against the town of Foster, General Laws 42-46-5.
That's it.
No, that's when we reconvene, that's after.